Hello everyone, Razorblade Mango here, and today I wanted to touch on a subject that I've kind of had knocking around in my brain for maybe like little over a month now, and that is to talk about PlayStation. More specifically, to talk about the few things about modern PlayStation that I actually like. Now, for those who have followed the channel for some time, you will know that I have been very vocal in my extreme skepticism and dissatisfaction with a lot of the choices that PlayStation have been making over the last few years and the direction that their ship seems to be headed in, which is this new obsession with live services that they want to get involved in because they're shaking in their boots that, you know, they're not going to have the game access to the games anymore that brings in the money, and they want to have their own stuff that gives them 100% of the profit and all. And they're for a long time they were one of the last holdouts to getting bitten by the live service bug, while everyone else was getting, as far as I'm concerned, infected by this disease, this live service obsession. PlayStation held out for a long time, but I think I even mentioned this in a video a very long time ago, like damn near 4 or 5 years ago. It would eventually bite them too, and it has, unfortunately. And here we are. And it's not just the live service stuff that I don't like. It's this new, really arrogant, braggadocious mindset that they've got. This whole newfound plan of turning PlayStation into a mainstream brand and all that. And it's just, I don't like, even a lot of the games that have been coming out for PlayStation. I like most of them, but they all start to kind of blend together and feel safe. I start to notice a lot of PlayStation isms in a lot of their games. That in turn has made me a lot less excited about the future of PlayStation than I was at the beginning of, say, the PS4 generation. Now, PlayStation has been in worse spots than this, obviously, but from a personal standpoint, I'm not really crazy about a lot of the things that they do. I think their communication sucks. I think their arrogance gets on my nerves a lot of the time. It reeks a lot of this self-importance with them. But there are things about modern PlayStation that I do like, that I think I actually do think are improvements from past generations. And I was talking about this with Richard not that long ago, and this is where the idea for this video came from, where I was talking to him about PlayStation in general, and we were having a conversation offline, of course, and I started talking about things that I liked about modern PlayStation, and it kind of just hit me like, you know, I talk so much about what I don't like about modern PlayStation. I want to provide a little bit of balance and talk about the things that I do respect, and I do appreciate the effort that they put into certain things. For starters, I like that they have been on an acquisition spree of studios that make sense and are long overdue. For example, Blue Point Games. That is an acquisition that should have happened a very long time ago, because they have been synonymous with PlayStation for a long time, outside of working on the occasional third-party thing, or hell, I think they even worked on one of the original Titanfall ports for Xbox or EA. They also worked with Konami on the Metal Gear Solid collection, the excellent Metal Gear Solid HD collection. And aside from those things, it's really just been PlayStation from there, because obviously they did the God of War remasters for PS3. They did the original Uncharted trilogy for PS4. They remade Shadow of the Colossus. They remade Demon's Souls, that's their most recent project. And they also did the HD collections for for Team Eco's stuff, which is Eco and Shadow of the Colossus. I'm happy that they're under PlayStation's umbrella finally. Similar with Housemarque, who I've liked Housemarque for a long time. I think Resogun is one of the best PlayStation 4 exclusives out there. I fucking love that game. That is a studio that their future has always concerned me because they released a string of commercially underperforming games throughout the PS4 generation. And then they were going to work on that Battle Royale game, and they were pretty open about the fact that they thought arcade games were dead. So they said, all right, we're gonna, follow the leader and just do a Battle Royale game. But PlayStation, I think, gave them their like one last chance and being like, hey, if you can make this game work with the budget we're giving you, you're good. And they made Returnal, which I'm not really like, actually, I'll talk about Returnal another time, but Returnal was a critical success and a relatively, decent commercial success as well, because I think a few months after it came out, it had already sold about 500,000 copies, which for a game that is exclusive to a new console that hasn't even been on the market for a year, that is in a relatively still kind of niche genre with the roguelike, and it was $70, and it's really hard. That's impressive that it sold a little over 500,000 copies in its first 3 months. That's really good. And so PlayStation seemed to agree, so they finally bought Housemarque, and that's great because as a Housemarque fan, I appreciate that their future is now financially secure. Now that they're under PlayStation, there's no more worry about them going away or going to have to do battle royales or any shit like that. They can now stay with PlayStation and they can continue making the kind of games that they want to make, which is awesome. And outside of Bluepoint and Housemarque, I think that the acquisitions of Nixxes makes a lot of sense because they have been doing some really good PC ports, and like it or not, PC gaming is going to be one of the things that PlayStation's going to pursue now. I'm not going to cry about it, even though I'm probably not going to buy most of these PC ports. I still appreciate that they're bringing these games on PC ports, and the ports are actually really good, at least from Nixxes, from what I've seen. And another acquisition that they made a while ago that it's small but important is Valkyrie, which is a support studio. It's not like the old days where these games are made by one studio now. You need multiple teams on these things, multiple studios, lots of contract work, outside help. And rather than paying contractors to do a lot of this work now, part of that burden can now be placed on a studio within the PlayStation umbrella, which is Valkyrie. And they worked on God of War Ragnarok, which runs extraordinarily well on PS5 and PS4. So I feel like that was a good get. Though, if I'm being honest, I'm a little bit more skeptical about some of the other acquisitions that they've been making. I think time will tell if those prove to be fruitful acquisitions, like Fire Sprite or Haven. We'll see about that, but at least as far as, Bluepoint, Housemarque, Nixxes, Valkyrie, I think those are really smart moves from them. And especially with Bluepoint and Housemarque, I think those should have happened a long time ago. And I don't know why they didn't, but here we are now. What's important is that they're finally under PlayStation's umbrella. And the next thing that I really like about modern PlayStation is that they seem to make smart investments in existing teams and smart investments in new teams from around the world. They've made investments in things like Devolver Digital, which is good. They've made multiple investments into Epic, which I think, say what you will about Epic, but I think that's smart considering they're going to be using Unreal Engine 5 for a few of their games. They've made a recent investment in From Software, which I think is smart. But that, I feel like PlayStation and From Software had this really weird relationship ever since Demon's Souls, but I like that they seem to be on much better terms now, especially after Bloodborne and the Demon's Souls remake having From Software's blessing, specifically Hidetaka Miyazaki's blessing. They're working with teams like Deviation, working with teams like Firewalk for new IPs. Haven, which is the new team from Jade Raymond in Montreal, which they're going to be doing their own live service. But the part about that that's more interesting to me is that they're trying to create this framework for cloud-based development, which if COVID, pushed one thing onto the industry, it's this idea of working from home is becoming a lot more appealing to a lot of people. So I think PlayStation wants to get ahead of the curve and start developing this framework of where it's a lot easier to work on games from your home. They're investing also in studios outside of the typical Western country kind of thing, outside of America, outside Europe, which they're going to South Korea, and they're helping out Shift Up Core, who are doing the very promising looking Stellar Blade. And then they're in China. They've been doing this PlayStation China Hero project for a while, and it's only been really recently that they've actually started to say, hey, we're gonna publish a few of these games now, which though the big one that they're gonna publish is, at least personally for me, the big one is Lost Soul Aside from Ultra Zero Games. I'm very much looking forward to that, and I'm happy that PlayStation finally is like, hey, look, we'll publish this for you. You don't have to worry about it. And that's good. That's a mark of confidence in that game. And everything I've seen from that game just looks fabulous. Like, it just looks so good. The third thing I really like about modern PlayStation is this new focus on the fighting game scene. Now, I am somebody who is a complete noob to the fighting game scene. I have no idea, in most cases, how tournaments are structured. I am not a pro player on any fighting game. Hell, I suck at fighting games for the most part. I'll just be honest with y'all. But I appreciate that PlayStation is putting this new focus on tournaments, especially with their PlayStation Tournaments brand and with their co-acquisition of Evo. And for me personally, I enjoy watching some of these game tournaments that they like to stream, especially things like Tekken and Street Fighter V. I like the fighting game ones especially. And I appreciate that PlayStation actually is serious about being the console for fighting games. Really, when a new fighting game comes out, a lot of the time it has PlayStation branding around it. Whether it's in a tournament setting, they're going to be using PlayStations. Whether it's in established franchise from Capcom or NetherRealm or any of these other, like Injustice or Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter, or hell, with like Bandai Namco with Tekken, it's always PlayStation. Even as somebody who's not really into fighting games, I appreciate that they want to focus on tournaments. They want to create a greater sense of community. And it's not even just fighting games. They have tournaments for things like Fortnite and Apex Legends and Rainbow Six Siege. And while I'm not really into those games from a competitive standpoint, again, I appreciate that they're like, hey, come to our channel and you get to watch, a pretty well put together tournament of this game that has a really strong competitive scene. And I think that's really cool. It appeals to a niche player base that, again, I'm not a part of, but I appreciate that they are getting some love from PlayStation. That PlayStation actually seems to be serious about this. And the final thing that I will say about PlayStation, and this comes from a personal standpoint, is that lately they seem to have a really good eye for getting on board with unique looking games with distinct ideas and styles. Whatever I may think of their own published things, whether it's a creeping lack of identity or they play it really safe with a lot of their games, their own games that they publish, a lot of the games that they seem to want to link themselves up with end up being really memorable. Because you got things like they're associated with Kena Bridge of Spirits, they're associated with Stray, which was a big success last year. They're associated with Sifu, which was a good success last year. Roller Drome, which people really liked. Bug Snacks, which was a charming little sleeper hit when the console came out. And even the things that they have in the works that they have, attach themselves to. Things like the aforementioned Stellar Blade, like Lost Soul Aside, hell, like Rise of the Ronin, which looks awesome. Eternights, which is that Persona looking game. Little Devil Inside, which I have no idea what's going on with that, but that kind of looks interesting. They have this eye for things that that looks like it could really hit. Let's get on board with that. And I think it has to do with the fact that they have two people at the helm of this third-party initiative or indie game initiative that really know what they're doing, which is Shuhei Yoshida, who's been in this industry for a very long time, and Greg Rice, who originally came from Double Fine Publishing, which unfortunately became irrelevant when they got bought by Microsoft. So Greg Rice went to PlayStation. Greg Rice probably has a lot of contacts within the industry, helping them become better with speaking with indie studios and getting things that look weird, that look unique, to be associated with PlayStation, at least in the beginning. And that's really cool. Now, they don't always hit the mark. They're not 100% bullseyes all the time. For every hits they get, like Stray, Kena Bridge of Spirits, Bugstacks, they'll attach themselves to complete duds, like Godfall, or the recent released Forspoken, which I don't know what the fuck they were thinking with those two, but they're not perfect. But they're a lot better at it now compared to the middle of the PS4 generation. This is more bringing back the spirit of getting into bed with weird ideas and weird things from the PS3 era. And I think that's great. I love that. I love that as somebody who likes games that are weird, that have unique ideas with distinct styles. That's the kind of shit that I like. Those are the things I really like about modern PlayStation. It's not a huge list. The bad and the skeptical definitely outweighs the good and the proven. But I do appreciate some aspects of modern PlayStation. I don't appreciate every aspect of this, but I'm gonna savor the stuff that I can get from them, especially now that we're heading more into this live service territory from them. So hopefully they continue to improve the things that I've mentioned that I really like about them. Maybe not the acquisition thing, because I think they're good on the acquisition front. They don't need to make any more, but just keep doing these smart investments, keep improving your tournament stuff, and keep getting on board with weirdo games. That will be good for the future. I think those will have long-term benefits for PlayStation in the future. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you like what you see, subscribe. Let me know what you guys like about modern PlayStation, if you like anything at all. And as always, I am Razorblade Mango. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you all next time. Bye.